Hey everyone, and welcome to Big Red Homestead. I'm Josh, that's Caleb, and today we got a top 5 team in the country, number 2 team in the country coming into Lincoln, Nebraska, playing the Cornhuskers. And today we're going through the X factors, the keys to the game, breaking this thing down, and basically going through what could actually happen in this game. There's ways Nebraska could maybe make this thing interesting. So we have a lot to talk about today. Caleb, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. Memorial Stadium, it's going to be fun. It's Michigan's first road test of the season, and maybe the best team that they've played thus far. I'm excited to, we get to see a very good team, a team that obviously made the college football playoff last year and choked it to TCU, and their defense absolutely disappeared. So I'm excited to play this team. Let's rip the Band-Aid off and let's play the Wolverines. I'm excied.
Yes, sir.
It was close last time I was in Memorial.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. So obviously right now Michigan is coming into the game 4-0, but, playing, some would say, an easy schedule so far, with a 30-3 win against Eastern Carolina, a 35-7 win against UNLV, a 31-6 win versus BGSU, Towns up, a 31-7 win versus Rutgers. And so we're their first away game. All 4 of those were at home. And obviously Harbaugh was suspended for the first 3 games, came back against Rutgers, and the team looked like, there's no difference. And so it's a weird start to the season for Michigan, I guess you could say, in that regard. For the game right now, obviously, Nebraska, the spread is a respectable 18 points. Michigan's favored 8-18 with an over-under of 46.5 for the points. So right now it's kind of like an implied score of like 33-14 or something like that. Obviously, they have not allowed a team to score more than 7 points this season. So that is a ballsy pick from Vegas. So with that said, I guess we can kind of head into the offense and talk about this Michigan team. So what are your first thoughts or opinions on this offense? Where do you want to start with this team?
Yeah, they run a lot of different formations, pistol, shotgun. They threw in some wildcat. And one thing I was really impressed on is they were not afraid to go with the trick play, even against, what you would really consider lesser opponents than them. Double end arounds, multiple flea flickers. They did this again, multiple times versus, Bowling Green or Rutgers. They did not care. They were trying to get the offense going. Again, the other thing, that you just noticed right away about Michigan is, my goodness, their offensive line is the best part of the offense. They got push after push after push after push. That's why they're a second half team, is because when they roll around, they are just getting 3, 4, 5 yards of push in their offensive line. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed. They have a really balanced offense, and they call the game really creatively. They give you a lot of different looks. And like you said, the formations are all over the place. And so it's really fun to watch in that regard. Obviously, they're led by quarterback JJ McCarthy, who is right now playing as the best quarterback in the Big Ten. Completing around 80% of his passes. On PFF, I think he's the 7th highest graded quarterback in the country at the moment. The Bowling Green game, Michigan fans may say, was a little bit questionable. Obviously, he threw 3 picks in that game and had some moments where you're like, gave me hope. What is going on here? It definitely gives you hope when you watch it, for sure, to say the least. He's a balanced quarterback. He can escape the pocket kind of like Trevor Lawrence does, where he just kind of gracefully glides out of the pocket towards the sidelines. You're like, man, how'd he get 8 yards there? And just looks really solid. When he has time to throw, he's incredibly accurate. And
he gets a lot of time to throw.
And good news for him is he gets a lot of time to throw.
And they rank 14th in pass blocking grades and 8th in run blocking grades in the country.
Right now, he's only pressured on 24% of his dropbacks, which is 15th lowest in college football. So
what a dream.
The offense is, it's dreamy. It's looking good. To be fair, they may not have played a better pass rush than what Nebraska's shown. Well, we'll see. We'll talk about that, later in the video.
The Bowling Green game was really the ones that gave you the most excitement. He underthrew a couple guys multiple times in that game, and that's kind of where the picks came in on deep balls. It's too steep of a throw, not enough arc under it, and that's where 2 cutoff picks, and then one where he was scrambling out of bounds. They just kind of made a bad play and threw the pick. I really hope that we see that from JJ McCarthy this Saturday. That would be very exciting for me. So, their running backs haven't looked as explosive this last year. I think Blake Corum's coming off kind of an injury. They're so good as the game goes on. those arm tackles start to break. I am impressed with Donovan Edwards with his pass catching ability.
Right.
He ran some deep routes and caught some good big balls, whether that was a wheel route or some other nice timing routes that looked really good too. So we have to worry about that as well in the backfield. And again, because JJ McCarthy is such a good QB, he'll take the dump off pass to the running back and those turn from 2 yards downfield to 8, 10, 15, 20 yards really quick in a lot of that game film.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is crazy. I mean, right now, Corum only has one game over 100 yards, and that was against Bowling Green, and just barely. So, like, the offense hasn't been as explosive as a lot of Michigan fans were potentially wanting. And, I mean, besides the Bowling Green game, they haven't thrown picks. All three of McCarthy's picks were in the Bowling Green game. So, a little bit underwhelming, I would say, on the offensive side. I mean, the passing game is just really consistent, and they have playmakers like Roman Wilson and Cornelius Johnson, who are both just really reliable pass catchers, and they have downfield ability for sure. I mean, Cornelius Johnson's got the size and the big play making ability.
What's impressive for me is each of their stats is they have over 17 yards per catch. For each of them is what they're averaging.
Yeah.
And Roman Wilson has 6 touchdowns, but they both have about the same yardage. He has 270 yards.
Roman Wilson dominated those first 2 games of the year. Absolutely insane.
Yeah. And so, they haven't even had that many catches, but it's just when they do, it is down the field in a hurry.
They just have a really, really reliable tight end in Colston Loveland, who just makes plays. Got a classic Big Ten tight end who's just reliable around the first down marker across the middle of the field. And a guy that you have to mark and be aware of.
100%. Yes. That's the Big Ten MO. So, like you said, it's just a really balanced offense.
One thing that Michigan does really well is they utilize pre-snap motion to get these guys moving before the snap. And they run horizontally, behind the line of scrimmage, of course, snap while they're moving. And they really hyper target those guys when they utilize that motion. So that's something to keep your eye on. And I'm sure that's something that Nebraska's dialed in on, is that when these guys are in motion, they're oftentimes the first read. But that's the problem. They're the first read for a reason, because they're almost always open.
Yep.
So they like getting the ball out quick and making it easy on McCarthy, and also just getting the ball into their playmakers' hands. Like, when you have those types of weapons, why wouldn't you? And so they just do a really good job of it. And like you said, the Wildcat as well, something they often pull out with Donovan Edwards, especially
in the red zone,
to find that in the red zone, get a few yards. So it was really interesting. Like you said, it is surprising that like Corum and Edwards, like right now, both of them are like in the bottom 10 in elusive ratings on PFF. But I think it's mostly just because they haven't
had a chance.
They're not because elusive rating takes in yards after contact. The problem is neither of them have any yards after contact because they're never contacted. Because the offensive line is so good. So I think I thought that was interesting.
They're not touched till like 9 yards down the field half the time.
Right.
Especially in the second half. Yeah,
so
it's ridiculous.
On the defensive side for Michigan, there's not much to say besides they're just really, really good. They have talent all over the field, headlined by 2 great elite players in Chris Jenkins on the defensive line and Will Johnson at cornerback, who just shut down everyone. And this defense just makes you earn every single yard, and they have speed all over the field. I mean, what do you even say about this defense besides they're just elite?
Yeah, in the same way with their offense, they're balanced all around. But I'd say, the needle moves maybe just a little bit more on some of those playmakers. Like you said, they have more D linemen that, again, like Derek Moore, who could be a first rounder, in the next year, and Junior Colson, Rod Moore. This defense, since Harbaugh has been there, again, they produce lots of NFL talent, lots of very, very good players. That's what their defense does. And it's going to be very difficult to beat them. Again, down the field somewhat, they have been run heavy. Again, it's hard to pass against them. Bowling Green and also Gavin Wimsett with Rutgers got down the field sometimes. That was where we saw some success. And some underneath in space. Really, the only time we saw them getting yards, both of them, was on 3rd and longs because, they're just playing the first down marker. So that's where really they were giving up some stuff, playing soft on, 3rd and long. And that's where it felt like most of their yards were getting. Because first,
I know.
I mean, they get in the backfield
like,
so fast. Wow,
that's a nice play. And then you realize, it was 3rd and 18. It's like, no wonder there was no one there. Their defense is number 1 in opponents' points per game, number 1 in yards per game, number 1 in points per play, number 10 in yards per play, number 21 in third down conversion percentage. So they have given up some things there. I think the one opportunity, and we'll talk about this in the X Factors, is there were some openings towards the outside when running backs were able to bounce it outside. So, you're going to have to set that up and actually make it play. So there's opportunities there. So, I mean, there's just not much else to say on the defensive side when it comes to how good his defense is, because they just have playmakers all over the field, and they're so physical and so talented. So it makes it real tough for you, to say the least.
They score points too. They had 2 picks on screens, that took the house one. Yeah, so they are a great scoring defense as well. And again, by how well they get into the backfield, it is very scary when we're talking about our offensive line versus how good their D-line is, because this is the best one we're going to see all season, and they are fierce to say the least.
Oh, yeah.
I am not excited to roll Turner Corcoran out there.
No, and like with how good their secondary is overall, they're dangerous. Again, the only hope here is that they haven't played the best competition so far, but that's what we'll have to talk about. So with that said, let's head into the X factors and just talk about some of these things here. I mean, what are the opportunities for Nebraska here? Let's start on the offensive side. Like, where could we see some potential to move the ball and find some points?
Our most effective thing has been the option play for us. So, I mean, I think we're going to have to lean on that heavy. That's most of our yards.
Speed option can you run in one game?
I mean, let's find out. Honestly, that is our best chance. It's been our most effective play with both Jeff Sims and Heinrich Harbaugh. So, I mean, I think you just rep that into the ground. Are we Air Force now? Are we just going to run? Are we just an option team? Again, we said that after week 1 against Minnesota.
Georgia Tech? Yeah, we should just be the Georgia Tech offense.
Yeah, let's just triple option this because it is our best chance. We can't pass the ball down the field, and that's what worries both of us, both quarterbacks. But Harbaugh's deep throw grade currently on PFF is 140th of 148th. 25% of his dropbacks, too, are over 20 yards. But yeah, and we're 142nd out of 145th in yards per attempt. None of those stats should shock any Nebraska fan at this point. We've known that we couldn't get the ball out deep, which is a little concerning when that's where we saw some of the success later in the games. Again, because Michigan is going to stack this box against us, and they're going to go man. I mean, they have no reason not to. They have the talent. Again, in those zones, that's where we kind of saw some effectiveness. We're going to have to do quick passes, stuff to make them take some pressure off of us, because if we cannot get them outside the box, we are not going to be able to move this ball.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. At the end of the day, if Harbaugh's starting, I'm hoping we don't turn the ball over much. The question mark will be like strip sacks, and
we can't.
And the problem there, obviously, yeah. I mean, you can't turn the ball over against Michigan. We saw what happened when. I mean, even though Bowling Green was given the ball 3 times, they had no chance in that game because they gave the ball away as well.
They put the ball up.
So it's like, you basically
that's the recipe to win.
I mean, you have to find some miracle where JJ McCarthy just makes some brain dead mistakes, which apparently he can, and suddenly in waves. Basically, you win the game like 14 to 10 or 14 to 13 or something ridiculous, like some ridiculous scenario. When it comes to other X factors, we saw a few moments where teams had some, like Bowling Green had some success bouncing the ball outside to the sidelines.
Some counter plays,
some counters on the weak side. So maybe you could find some success there. And that is something that Anthony Grant likes to do, bounce the ball outside and use his physicality to get to the edge. But, normally what we've seen with Anthony Grant is he does it really well against the bad teams. And then suddenly you play against the teams who have speed and tackle efficiently, and he finds nothing. So that's where I'm really worried in this game, and I think it's pretty likely Nebraska has a lot of problems on the offensive side. Well, I guess the one other thing I want to mention is, like, obviously the biggest X factor here for Michigan is taking advantage of is putting us in 3rd and longs and just wrecking us on turnovers. I mean, that's the worry, right?
Yeah, I mean, they just send
There's a world
bodies.
where we have 3 or 4, who knows, 5 turnovers in a game like this if sacks and fumbles go the wrong way. With how bad our pass blocking is, who knows? I mean, it could get ugly quick if the turnovers start rolling. So that's where you have to be worried if you're a Nebraska fan. So on the opposite side here, how do you slow down this Michigan offense? Yeah,
I mean, it starts with, again, their offensive line is so good, and our defensive line has been so good in stopping the run. So I think it's hard because, again, McCarthy, if we sell out for the run against these guys, McCarthy will be, he's been so good even under pressure. He's very accurate.
Yeah, he's 26th ranked quarterback in the country when under pressure.
So it's just, you're in a tough spot. This is a very balanced team. So again, it's being able, we're going to have to be able to get pressure though and get sacks. We saw Bowling Green have some effectiveness doing that. We saw Rutgers as well. And that's our best odds is again, being able to get pressure on this quarterback and just, again, wreaking havoc on that offensive line, not allowing them to get those holes. So, I mean, I think And we saw last week that we couldn't get a lot of pressure. So I think it's a lot of guys on the line of scrimmage a lot of the time. And then it's leaning on our cornerbacks and our safeties to make plays in this 3-3-5.
The only weakness that we saw in like statistically here is they're 93rd ranked when when pressure happens, they're sacked at a high rate. But he's only been pressured 24% of dropbacks, which is 15th best in college football. So like the problem is okay, sure, if you pressure him, you might get a sack here. But man, like it's hard to find pressure. So I think this is the strategy against any good team for us this season is you're going to have to just make bets on this secondary to cover Cornelius Johnson and then cover these weapons and send and dial up pressure and hope you can get there in time. You know, more than likely what's going to happen though is that McCarthy's going to get the ball out quick and you're not going to convert into sacks. But that's the bet you're going to have to make.
And we did see Michigan on some stunted blitzes with linebackers miss some guys, have breakdowns in the offensive line, which was, again, that was exciting. This, as good as an offensive line is, there was some mental mistakes that allowed some free sacks and free pressures. And I expect Tony White, he's going to test probably exactly that exact setup, but also just in other ways too, because we know, again, the 3-3-5, we have a lot of creative ways to dial up that pressure to get pressure on the quarterback, and we're going to need a ton of it this week. And again, 3-3-5, it's meant to be, we have a ton of these tweener guys that can get pressure, and I mean, we just need them to play out of their minds if we want to have a chance to win. But the good news is I think this is the best defense they've seen. We know that Rutgers and Greg Schiano, though, like that's a good solid defense, but I think that we can be another level. And again, if we can lock down, we can shade Cornelius Johnson and not forget about Loveland. But I think we have, some of the guys to be able to cover him. Hopefully Reimer is healthy. That's the best chance. I mean, our defense is going to have to go absolutely nuclear for us to have a chance to win this game. And then our offense, again, get us good field position to give our offense easy chances to get in the end zone, because that's the best way. That's the narrative for us winning this game.
I mean, it all comes down to McCarthy making mistakes, because it's basically the only thing that we've seen that has been at all a problem for them. I mean, right now, he's basically middle in the pack in turnover-worthy play rate. And when pressured, he's actually 8th worst in the Power 5 when pressured when it comes to turnover-worthy play rate. So that's the opportunity there. The problem is that you have not seen him pressured almost at all. So we'll have to see, and that's the potential weakness for Michigan moving forward, and the biggest opportunity for Nebraska in this game to find an opportunity to keep it close. So with that said, let's head into the predictions. What are your thoughts here? Like, where are you at with this game? I mean, there's a lot of different aspects to take into consideration here. Obviously, the line is 18 points and a 46.5 point over under. So where are you at right now?
And they have not allowed over 7 points this season. It is going to be hard. Again, in Nebraska, we all know our offense has been the struggle of the season. Can we get more points than 7? I think is a great goal for us at this point. But I think we'll have some chances to. Again, I think our defense will make some plays. We've seen them consistently be able to do that, whether it's a good team in Colorado with a great quarterback or, a bad team as well that we've been able to do this. So I think our defense will make some sort of plays for us to keep it close. The question for me is how many turnovers can we keep that down? And so, I mean, our game plan, it has to consist of fast acting plays. This play action, I'm not sure it's going to work. It's going to be RPO, quick passes, practicing the speed option. And then also on the speed option, keeping them honest and pitching the ball, because every time our quarterbacks held it. So again, I think
Rhule mentioned that in the presser. He was like, we're running the option if you haven't noticed, but we just haven't been pitching it.
Yeah, so I think we got to keep them honest on that, and hopefully, that's an advantage of they sell out to the QB, and that means some broken plays for Anthony Grant and company to get out there. So creative ways like last week to keep getting Billy Kemp involved, whether that's end arounds or have you trick plays. Yeah, we need to throw every trick in the bag, but if we don't turn the ball over or only have one turnover, I could see us winning or losing this game 21-10, where we could get a touchdown. But I think our defense is good enough. Their offense, again, their running backs aren't looking as good as it has been. It's more been the offensive line and JJ McCarthy and their weapons. They're just good and consistent. But I'm excited to see what the 3-3-5, what kind of chaos we can create against this team.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest question for me is, like, we saw how the defense really looked vulnerable without Luke Reimer, so I'm hoping he's healthy. We don't know yet at this point when we're recording this. We also don't know for sure yet whether or not Harbaugh or Sims is starting. Rhule said we'll see tomorrow, and that was yesterday. So Harbaugh was dinged up at the end of the last game, which is why he didn't end up coming out there after the rain delay. And so is Jeff, obviously. So there's still question marks there. I think Harbaugh will start, but we'll have to see. And then when it comes to the prediction itself, I agree. At the end of the day, I'm just worried about the turnovers. I think the defense should play good enough to keep Michigan around that 30-point mark or less. If you're turning the ball over 3 times, it's not going to matter.
Yep.
So for me, I think we're going to probably lose the turnover battle 2-1 or something along those lines, or maybe 2-0, something like that. So I'm sitting kind of around like that 27-10 mark, although I think I would take Nebraska to cover the points just because we're at home. The defense has done a pretty good job of keeping teams in check. Michigan's offense doesn't look as explosive as it has in past seasons, but they're going to beat you with 1,000 cuts and converting on 3rd and 1s and converting in these tough situations. And so overall, the defense will probably get worn down. This could look like a Colorado game where by the end of the game, it gets a little bit ugly because of turnovers, which is very possible. So that's what the debate for me. Is there an opportunity where Nebraska could come out and surprise? I mean, maybe. The problem is like where this offense versus like the Adrian Martinez Nebraska near upset was like at least that offense had some explosive upside potential. This one just doesn't seem to have any explosive upside potential unless it's like ripping off a 50-yard run, which seems unlikely against Michigan. So that's where I'm at with this one. Overall, it's going to be a tough game and probably one where you're going to have to earn every single yard on the offensive side if we want to have a chance to make this thing really competitive and maybe shock the world on Saturday, which that's the fun of it. I mean, Rhule has a chance to literally make the statement of statements and establish himself as a long-term Nebraska dynasty coach here.
If you win this one, I mean, you feel really good about a bowl game. You feel really good about a lot. And then, again, only losing to Minnesota and Colorado, it's like you have a chance to still be a ranked tean going forward.
And over time, you hope that Nebraska continues to build on the successes and look better and better. And it can start here against an incredible team in Lincoln. So who knows? That's where the fun begins. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Drop your comments down below. We want to see your predictions, obviously, and let us know what do you think the biggest X factor is in this game. But as always, guys, I'm Josh. That's Caleb. This has been Big Red Homestead, and guys, we will see you next time.
Go Big Red.
Go Big Red, baby.